Hey Pyro, we're going to take slices of hardwood and make them into beautiful coasters. It's going to be so much fun. I have two different styles of coasters. We're going to be doing some snarky coasters, and those are going to be way fun. We're going to be doing some really cute phrases that are really sweet. You know, they'd be really great for like a wedding gift, or really great for a family gift, or for a spouse gift, or something like that. If you're part of the Crate Club, the slices that you are using are high quality hardwood slices. The slices that I'm using came from a tree branch in my yard, and so it makes it extra special fun. You got some really nice hardwood, not the branches from my yard. I'm Jenny Lisenby, your Pyro Professor. Let's burn. First thing you need to do is sand the wood. That's going to help even out all of the wood grain and knock off any little slivers or bumps or little things that are gonna keep you from burning a more perfect line. Once those are sanded and ready, it is time to put your patterns in place. I'm gonna cut mine down to size, and I'm going to cut the leaves down to size and make sure that they fit exactly on each coaster. And then I'm gonna tape them down one side so that it's easy for me to lift them all up at the same time. Then I'm going to use my tracing tool and my carbon paper to actually transfer the pattern. Now you can actually reuse the carbon paper. I'm going to use it for every coaster here. You want to make sure that you have the black side down and the gray matte side up. And then I'm actually going to use my handy dandy beanbag and trace over these lines with my tracing tool. And then I'm going to do that with the letters and with the leaves. With your pattern transferred, it's time to choose a wood burning nib. Now, if you have a wood burning tool like this one, then you'll want to use a nib like these. Both of these points will be very good at getting lines. The larger one will be easier to control and get a thicker line, and the thinner one is going to be a little bit harder to control, but it will give you those fine lines if that's what you're looking for. Now, if you have this kind of a tool, then what you're going to want is one of these nibs. Here is the regular flow point. It's got a nice round surface. This one is the mini flow point, and it has a small circular surface. This again is going to give you a finer line, and it's going to be a little bit harder to control. The flow point, it will give you a little bit more of a fuzzy burn on the lines, but it's going to be a lot easier to control and a lot easier to get the rounded curves. Now, if you're using a professional tool, like a wire nib, then you're going to want either the writing point, like this one, or you're going to want the ball point. I am using my Colwood detailer with a writing nib. I will have links in the description for all of these products. And I'm setting mine to about a 4. So what you want to do is always be in motion. Never set your burner down unless it is moving, because if you set it down and you don't have it moving, it's going to blob. And all you're doing is pulling the burner towards you. Now, if I have a little blob like that, I'm going to use the swinging technique. And if you missed the techniques video, I'll put a link to that here for you too, so that you can look at the beginner's techniques and make sure that you have those nailed. So I swing back and forth to blend out the line. Then I'm going to pull the burner toward me. Just pull it. And then swing it back and forth. Like that. Then I'll go ahead and put in the leaves. And if you'll notice, I am turning the wood instead of the wire. When you turn the wood, it's just so much easier on your wrist. You can keep your wrist in a comfortable position, in the position that works best for you. When you have to turn the wire, then you have to fight the flexibility of the wire. You have to fight the weight of the wire. I just prefer to turn the wood piece instead, turn the project. If you're having a hard time getting a dark line, you are probably going too fast. It's not a pencil, it's not a marker, it's not going to work. Time and heat are what make a nice dark line. So what you want to do is slow down and try to get a smaller stroke in, okay? A lot of beginners will just sit there and go out there and think, well, how come that's not a very dark line? Well, because you didn't spend very much time on it. You need to be going slower. For the letters, we'll use the same techniques, just more carefully, since the letters aren't as forgiving as leaves and branches are. Now I want these lines to show up a little bit more thick, a little bit thicker than how they're showing up here. So I'm going over it once and then going over it a second time to get the thickness I want. Turn this upside down. Clean up some of these little lines here. And then I like to add the lines across the bottom all at the same time. I feel like it makes it straighter across the bottom rather than doing them all separately. So then I'm gonna touch in the space between the letter and the lines at the bottom just to make it look more finished there at the bottom. And then I will add the flags at the top doing the same thing, and then it blends well together. Once that is burned, it is time to add a finish. But before we do that, I'm going to burn the other coasters because it is so much easier to finish them all at the same time than to have them sitting there and waiting individually. If this video has been helpful so far, it would be amazing if you would hit that like button. That lets YouTube know that other pyros might need to see this video also, or other videos that I have to share. Thank you so much. Now, if you're like me and you learn better in person, you learn better from watching, and you learn better when there's someone who can actually give you some feedback on your work, there's actually a Burn Savvy retreat every year where you can burn with me live in person. It's fantastic. It's a really great place for you to get feedback, immediate feedback that you can't really get from a YouTube video. And it's a great way to try out all of the different things without having to go buy all the materials yourself. Instead, I will have those there for you to try there on site so that you can see what kind of burners you like best, what kind of wood you like best, all of those kinds of things. If you want all the juicy details, that's at burnsavvy.com/retreat. Right now, as of the making of this video, retreat tickets are live and they are available, and I'm super excited to be burning with you in person. However, if you are seeing this when the retreat tickets are closed, all you have to do is sign up for my email list over at burnsavvy.com, and I will tell you when the retreat tickets become available for next year. So stay tuned there. Now, when you do these next coasters, you're going to basically do the same exact thing. Just remember, when you are moving that pen back and forth, make sure that you are not pushing. For me, I feel like I'm more doing a side motion, like my hand is on its side, moving side to side instead of up and down. When you go forward, like you're going up, a lot of times that digs into the wood. If you can move it side to side, move your hand so that it feels like it's moving side to side, that will help the cursive to burn much more smoothly. Once you're ready to add sealant, place the coasters in a box or on some other kind of protected surface, and then get the sealant that you have. We used a polyurethane. Take your brush and apply the polyurethane. You want to make sure that it's in fairly thin coats. You don't want this to be too thick, but you want to make sure it covers everything. If you need to, make sure you go both directions so that it gets into the burn and into the little crevices in the wood. And then when you go around the edges of the wood, just tap, tap, tap that into the edges of the bark. And that way it will be protected there. Try not to get too much at the bottom though, because then as it dries, it might dry to the protected surface you have underneath it. Something that solves that is you might prop it up on some coins or prop it up on something else, but you want to keep those edges that are against the box or against the surface, you want to keep those dry, or you just want to keep them away from the box. When you are done with the first coat, I like to wrap my paintbrush in a plastic bag, and that way it keeps it from drying out, but I don't have to wash it. So I waste less of my product and I also waste less time. Now you want to let this dry for at least 2 hours and then sand it lightly and add a second coat. I highly recommend that you let this sit for 24 to 72 hours before you use it with anything that has to do with water. Once you have your beautiful coasters finished, then it's time to watch this fantastic tutorial right over here. I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you on the challenge if you're coming this weekend, and I will see you at the retreat if you sign up. Later, Pyro.